2024, the year about to wrap up, was a record-breaking year in many ways. From politics to pop culture, climate and conflict, it truly was a year that shook the world.
Our reporter Inga Ting has been looking into some of the defining moments from this year and joins us now. Thanks for coming in this morning. You've got this on the ABC website this morning, a great article looking at the ways that 2024 broke records. Let's start off with global conflicts, because it was a year of violence, of political violence and conflict in particular. In Ukraine, for example, and Gaza and Lebanon, lots of conflict around the world.
Yep. So actually one of the longest running data sets that tracks the number of state-based armed conflicts across nearly 30 years shows that in data up to November 2024, 2024 was already ranked as the second most violent year since World War II. So this is counting the number of conflicts that are active, so more than 25 deaths in any calendar year. And that's only 3 below the record for that data set, which was 2023. So because those are provisional figures, that figure might actually rise. And that was, those conflicts were led by events in Russia and Ukraine, Gaza and Myanmar, for example.
Nothing to celebrate there at all. I remember back when the year started, constantly seeing this figure about the number of democratic elections, Inga, that were going to be held around the world. And I guess nearly all of them have been by now. The US in November was probably the most talked about. What trends emerged through all of those events?
Yep, so it was actually the biggest ever election year in history. More than 60 countries went to the polls around the world, plus the 27 member states of the European Union. So combined, that's a population of 4.2 billion, so half the world. And there was a huge shift in power in many countries. So as you said, there was the US, they're poised to see their first convicted felon assume the presidency. In Mexico, they voted in the first female president in a landslide. But it was around the world a real sense of change. So for the first time in 120 years of records, every incumbent party facing election in 2024 actually lost vote share.
Wow.
So that's the first time that's ever happened. And I think what people read out of that is that there's really a sense of hopelessness in the world and a real desire for change. So it's sort of that situation where things get so bad that people are desperate for any kind of change and will vote for parties that maybe they don't even believe have the solutions, because they just want to see something happen.
May not be a statistic that brings great encouragement to the Albanese government if it's replicated here.
We shall wait and see, I know, but it's interesting to think about how that sets up, all that change sets up 2025. Now, moving on to climate, 2024 was also a year of hot temperatures. How does 2024 compare to past years?
So 2024 is virtually certain to be the hottest year on record. And not only that, but also the first year to average more than 1.5 degrees higher than the long-term average. So that's the pre-industrial average from 1850 to 1900. So if you think back to over the past 18 months, actually 16 of the past 17 months were the hottest on record for that month. So that's all of the back half of 2023 and then all of 2024 except for June. So it's
so Australia's rolling into its summer in earnest now, but it was Europe, wasn't it? Only 5 or 6 months ago, they were smashing records.
Yep, exactly, and across the developing countries as well. In the south, a lot of them experienced, the longest stretch of consecutive hot days.
And Taylor Swift, how can we reflect on 2024 without again talking about Taylor Swift and her Eras tour, Inga? It was both a musical phenomenon, but also an economic one too. No matter where she went, it generated millions of dollars, if not more, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the Eras tour broke so many records. It produced the highest grossing film in concert history. It caused seismic activity equivalent to a 2.3 magnitude earthquake. But one of the starkest data points I think that illustrates her huge success is that the Eras tour actually eclipsed every other concert tour in history, taking in $2 billion in ticket sales, which is actually double the closest rival. And those are figures adjusted even for inflation and the number of shows that she did.
Wow.
So she just eclipsed the competition, really.